Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Atheist Apostate, your host here, the AA, and we're back again with another rebuttal against Saints Unscripted. Don't want to be stuck on these guys every video, but I'm going to have a few videos coming out as I work on my other projects for videos. I'm coming out with some videos on why the Synoptic Gospels are not written by who you think it is. I'm also writing another one ready on Islam again, and with false claims made. They make claim science backs up. So in between those, though, I'm taking shots at Saints Unscripted. Yes, it's taking shots. They have playlist after playlist after playlist of rubbish. And yes, it's rubbish. It's no worse off, if worse, than what Fair does. Not only do they whitewash stuff on here, they outright give opposite contradicting information than what their leaders have said. So I'm not sure if they're instructed for that. I'm not sure if that's, their goal, or if they're just too ignorant to know what they're talking about and they spew. So I'm going to be doing two today. What does the Bible say there is no marriage after death? And I'm going on the next one, which will be a longer, lengthier one, Book of Mormon translation. I watched both these this morning, and wow. The other one, I'm going to put a little more time into it. What does the Bible say about marriage after death? We're not going to do too much on here. Minus watch, give us a few potshot comments on the ridiculousness of this, and finish off. All right, guys, let's pop up here.
Hello, everyone. Today's episode is about...
Whoa. Hi, Saints Unscripted. What's the episode about?
Marriage.
Man, I love that movie.
Marriage is what brings us together today.
Knowledge is what wins us together today. I agree, knowledge, and you are not given knowledge. You seem to have it. I've heard your background. So you're going for a master's right now, so you're not a stupid guy. So why do you give misinformation and bad knowledge?
Anyway, we're going to talk about a pretty controversial bit of scripture found repeated in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Let's take a gander.
First and foremost, is only controversial to the LDS Church. All the other Christian denominations out there are in compliance pretty much on this one. It's only the Mormon Church out of harmony with the rest of Christianity. Let's just get this straight. Only Mormonism is out of harmony here.
The same day came to him, Christ, the Sadducees, which say there is no resurrection, and asked him, saying, Master, Moses said, if a man die having no children, his brother shall marry his wife, and raise up seed unto his brother.
Okay, let's stop right there, really quick. So those who are not familiar with the Jewish faith, those who are not familiar with Judaism but think you know about it, yes, well, let me give you guys a really quick educational history here on theology and Judaism. In Judaism, they have no hell. There's no hell. Hitler, everyone goes back to heaven. In Judaism, there is a form of purgatory. That's where the Catholics get it from, a form of purgatory. In human life years, in Judaism, if a family member or loved one dies, you pray for them for 11 months of our time. Because in God's time, they are going through a refiner's fire, a purgatory, pain and suffering for their sins before they return to God. Before they all return to God. Judaism does not believe in a hell. So go check it out. Jews do not believe in hell. Doesn't exist. Jesus was a Jew. I had to bring this up because Jesus was a Jew. The same day they came on to him, Christ, the Sadducees. The Sadducees are a Jewish group that were amongst the governmental body. They were Jews. Jews don't believe in hell, which say that there is no resurrection, and ask him. Of course there's no resurrection. In Judaism, there is no hell. There is no resurrection. When you die, you go through that 11 month of our time refiner's fire and then return to God, and your family and friends stop praying for you because you returned to the presence of God and paid for your sins. You atoned. That's Judaism 101. So you have to know the context of this to understand this. So let's go back just a little bit so you can read this all without the AA interrupting. So let's go back.
Saying, Master, Moses said, if a man die having no children, his brother shall marry his wife and raise up seed unto his brother. Now there were with us 7 brethren, and the first, when he had married a wife, deceased, and having no issue, left his wife unto his brother. Likewise the second also, and the third unto the 7th. And last of all the woman died also. Therefore in the resurrection, whose wife shall she be of the 7? For they all had her. Jesus answered and said unto them,
The resurrection, not a resurrection as in Christianity's resurrection and a final judgment where God gives you Jesus, either lets you go to heaven or condemns you to hell. Like I just said, Jews have no hell. They go through an 11 month of our time period praying for their loved ones, so they're resurrected into heaven, straight into heaven. Straight after that time period that they go through the refiner's fire, they go from this period into the others. So understand the terminology being used. It's not the Christian resurrection where you think you're going to be raised in your physical body and then judged before God. This is not what this is talking about. This is not what Jews understood. I spent 5 years studying Judaism with an Orthodox rabbi. After I left Christianity, I was going to convert to Judaism, Orthodox Judaism. That was my road after Christianity. I lost my faith in Christianity. I did not lose my faith in God at the time. So a lot of stuff I was taught in the Christian Bible was much more clear and far from what the Christians teach when you hear it in a Jewish context. This is a Jewish context. This is a Jewish context. So when they are resurrected, they go from that 11 period of the refiner's fire that Catholics would understand as a purgatory straight to heaven. There is no resurrection of the Christian version of the resurrection. Just to get this straight so we understand what's going on here in the Jewish term with Jewish speakers. Jesus was a Jew, the Sadducees were a Jew, the Pharisees were Jews.
Them, ye do err, not knowing the Scriptures nor the power of God. For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of God in heaven. There it is.
They are neither married in heaven, they are as angels of gods. We covered this in an earlier episode. In Main Street Christianity, members of the church who are watching this, if you're an investigator and you're a Christian, you know this theology already. In Christian theology, mainstream Christian theology, when you die, all your bonds here on earth are broken. Your bonds to your spouse, your bonds to your children. Little Sally and little Freddie, your dog is no longer your dog in heaven. Yes, he's going to go to heaven if you believe in heaven. So if you believe in heaven, all dogs go to heaven, but little Freddie and little Sally, your doggy isn't going to be your doggy because your bonds to your doggy is broken. This is why Christianity is not in harmony with Mormon Christianity. And yes, Mormons are Christians. So, but their theology isn't always in harmony with mainstream Christianity. And Christians, if you want to get nitpicky, neither is the Jehovah's Witnesses. They are more off of the harmonized Christian theology than the Mormons are. If we want to get honest here, if we want to get honest, let's be honest, the Jehovah's Witnesses are even often further left field than the Mormon faith is on perverting Christian theology. It's all a perversion, but they pervert it even more, and the Jehovah's Witnesses go even further. So let's be honest. Yes, Christianity does not believe in marriage being sustained afterwards, after your death, in the next life. They don't. That is a fact because it was said by Jesus and you just saw it.
Nobody's married after the resurrection. Plain and simple, right? Well, here's the problem. Latter-day Saints believe in eternal marriage.
That isn't a problem for anyone but you guys. For anyone but you guys. I've watched this whole video. We're not ad hocing through here to see what he's going to say. I know what he's going to say. And it is all propaganda. It is all testimony. It is all backed up with the Book of Mormon and Doctrine and Covenants. Once again, The source of contention is being defended by the source of contention. You cannot use the source of contention to defend the source of contention. It's in a court of law that would be thrown out as hearsay. It would be thrown out.
Death cannot stop true love.
Death cannot
All
stop
it can
true
do
love.
is delay it for a while.
And a lot of other
You know what, more unscripted, Saints Unscripted? How about you spend less time with your funny, cool little clips and spend more time on being truthful? How about we spend time on being truthful? I am. I have nothing to lose. I have nothing to hide.
Christians agonize over the idea of not being married to their spouse after death. As I've researched this topic, I've read a ton of different interpretations of these verses. Some people just say no, marriage won't.
You read a ton of different interpretations? What interpretations there, Saints Unscripted? What interpretations? Because Christianity believes that once you're dead, your bonds with God, or your family, earthly ties are severed, and your bonds are now back to God 100% solely. So all ties here are gone. So that's what you show me the scriptures, buddy. You reply back and show me the scriptures and which sect of Christianity is saying otherwise.
Won't exist. Some people say it will exist. Some say it will sort of exist, but just not in the same way we're used to. The most common interpretation seems to be that God's purpose for instituting marriage was simply to propagate the species. Because people...
Okay, that one is actually up to debate. That one is up to debate, and there's some Christian sects there that believe that sex is only to propagate. And I know members of the church who actually believe that too. I had a few families, one mainly, so in the Moncton ward, they were a huge family, and he and she believed that sex was for propagation only, and he wanted to propagate a lot. That's why they had a huge family. So my best friend's growing up, his mother thought sex outside of propagation was a sin. So, and I grew up LDS. There's a lot of sects out there that disagree on the propagation and marriage institute here on earth. This is where he claims muddy verses and discussion comes up and disagreement. This is where, not after death, here on earth. This is where the disagreement is. Come on, Saints Unscripted. Let's be friggin' honest here.
People die, we have to be constantly multiplying and replenishing the earth.
And here we are again with funny, cute little clips.
In the resurrection, people don't die anymore, so there's no longer a need to have children, and therefore no longer a need for marriage, which...
Pretty much the Christian theology 101, guys. 101, Christian theology, all severed, or ties on earth are severed.
Gosh, isn't that romantic? At the very beginning of the Bible, we have the creation story. God creates something and afterwards says that it is good. The light, it is good.
Yeah, and I'm agreeing with him on here. Just so you guys know, for the next little bit, I'm agreeing on him because that's Christian theology as well.
Good. The earth, it is good. The waters, the planets, the stars, the animals, they're all good. And then God
also said, I am the way, I am the light, I am the word. And I say that because I use this also, because they leave this out, I use this also in a rebuttal that they have on another video. So I just wanted to throw that in here. I doubt Saints Unscripted is watching, but hey, you know what? Just throwing it in there, buddy.
God forms Adam, and for the first time he says this: "It is not good that the man should be alone."
And I just want to let Christian viewers who are unaware of this, I need to make this known here, guys. The Genesis story, according to biblical scholars, I knew this. I dropped out 2 months left of my first year of theology school at Rocky Mountain up in, Red Deer County in Alberta. I was going to become a minister after I left the Mormon church. That's where I lost my faith. I had another faith crisis because the stuff I was learning historically, so in my first year, was, wow, why was this never taught to us? This is all new. One of those things were the story of Genesis is two different stories merged into one. Two different stories merged into one, and comes from the Samaritan days. Most theology schools are open about this. All mainstream scholars know this and are open about this. So this is two stories pre-Judaism being mixed into one, guys. Just so you know this, two Samaritan stories, and theology scholars do know this. They admit to it.
I will make him and help meet for him. God marries Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden before death even enters the world. and Eve. So if they were married before death was even a factor, it's hard for me to understand why death would change the validity or
It's hard for you to factor in and reason because the Bible tells you that all bonds will be severed at the end. Your bonds will be severed. So when you go back to God or you go to hell, your bonds are severed here on the earthly world. That is why. That is why. It's not hard. It's hard for you because you grew up with a different theology, my friend. That is the only reason it's hard, is because you grew up with a different theology that never taught you the other theologies.
importance of marriage for us. Anyway, what I've learned is that good people can interpret these verses in different ways.
Yes, good people can interpret the verses in different ways. And you are interpreting the verses in your way, in your church's way. So this is what you are doing. So you are doing no different. You're just playing semantics now. And I'm going to call you out on the semantics.
Here are two Latter-day Saint interpretations that I think we should keep in mind.
Yes, there's two Latter-day Saints interpretations. And this is why he believes it, and this is why he tries to use the scriptures to harmonize with his belief. Because if he uses regular Christian theology 101, what every other church believes out there but these guys, your bonds are severed at death before you go back to God or hell.
First, recall from the episode we did on the priesthood that there is a lesser priesthood called the Aaronic priesthood associated with the law of Moses, and a higher Melchizedek priesthood associated with the higher law of Christ. There are also ordinances associated.
And very quickly, I'm not going to focus very much on it. He's going to use the two priesthood as a defense in the Bible. He cannot do that. So they are the only Christian faith that believes in a Aaronic and Melchizedek priesthood. They're the only church that believes in the two split of priesthood with ordinances. This is them, LDS and LDS splinter groups. I'm not talking about the splinter groups, they can be another day. But the LDS church / branch offs in whole. This is unique to them only.
Associated with each priesthood. For example, baptism happens under the authority of the Aaronic priesthood. Eternal marriage happens under the Melchizedek priesthood. The situation posed by the Sadducees dealt with a group of Israelites living under the law of Moses. Naturally, they largely did not have access to the Melchizedek priesthood.
Okay, and this is where he comes in and starts making a straw man argument. This is where I really get pissed off here. And yes, I get pissed off. There, outside of Christian theology, is nothing, or Mormon theology, there is nothing there to support his claims. So in mainstream Christianity, and this is where you start getting a source of contention with mainstream Christianities to Mormon Christianity, so is they believe in one priesthood, the priesthood of Aaron that was given through Moses by God. That's the only priesthood they believe in. Yes, it is. So to be a priest in the temple, you have to be from the line of Aaron, the lineage of Aaron. So, and that was a source of contention for the Jews at the time of Jesus as well. Because history lesson here, guys, history lesson, and it's important I give you this history lesson. When the Romans took over the territory, they did not let the Jews keep the priests of Aaron. The Aaronic priesthood, the priests of Aaron, the Aaronic priesthood, and that's what the church is talking about. The Aaronic priesthood, the priesthood of Aaron given to God by Moses, the only one we had. So in there, and that's why we have the staff of Moses, with Aaron. The Romans instituted, Caiaphas was not of the line of Aaron, the high priest. He was a Roman imposed and placed high priest. The priests of the temple worked under Caiaphas and were not from the line of Aaron. So that is why Jesus and others were against the temple and the Pharisees, because they supported the Romans' placement. So that's why Jesus and them had contention against the temple, because the temple was being defiled because it was not the line of Aaron running the temple. Not a second priesthood, there was no second priesthood in Jesus' days. So he didn't teach any second priesthood. This is only a Mormon belief here. This is a Mormon belief, not mainstream. Got to make this clear before we move on, because this is his defense.
Or, therefore, eternal marriage. So yes, we totally agree with Christ. Doctrine and Covenants 132 first.
No, you don't, because we're going to go back here and re-listen to this. Let's re-listen to this. Let's re-listen to his circular logic is a fallacy.
The law of Moses. Naturally, they largely did not have access to the Melchizedek priesthood, or, therefore, eternal marriage. So yes, we totally agree with Christ. Doctrine and Covenants 132 further emphasizes.
Okay, they're not agreeing with Christ. They're agreeing with their LDS theology of Christ. If they were agreeing with Christ, they would look at what the historical scholarship in whole says. In whole. They would look at the verse. They would look at, like I said, the historical time period. We know the historical time period. This is nothing we do not know, guys. Go back and listen to what I said about the historical time period and how the high priest and the priests were Roman placed. So I won't go back over it. So Jesus was not saying there was a eternal heaven, or yes, he was saying there's eternal heaven, but he wasn't saying marriage and our moral bonds were going to be continued on. Never says that. He's basing this off of their belief in two priesthoods and the Doctrine and Covenants. Just before we get into that, I will be doing a episode on the Book of Covenants and the Doctrine of Covenants. For you guys who are unaware, the Book of Covenants is what the Doctrine of Covenants was before the Doctrine of Covenants got edited and put out there with prophecies and comments taken out of it that were in the Book of Covenants. So, same book, just stuff edited out that never happened.
If a man marry him a wife in the world, and he marry her not by me nor by my word, and he covenant with her so long as he is in the world and she with him, their covenant and marriage are not of force when they are dead, and when they are out of the world. Therefore they are not bound by any law when they are out of the world. Therefore, when they are out of the world, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are appointed angels in heaven. So
Whoa. But Joseph, you're saying the same. When you're starting out, you're saying the same thing. Wherefore, when they are out of the world, they neither marry or nor given in marriage, but are appointed angels in heaven. Isn't that what Jesus was saying too? Mormons, you come from a Pentecostal Reformation called the First Great Awakening in the eastern U.S. So, Pennsylvania, New York, New Hampshire, the New England states, this was a great, huge revival called the First Great Awakening. When the Mormon church first started, when the LDS church first started, guys, a lot of your teachings were very Protestant. This was during the time period. This got carried over from the Book of Covenants into the Doctrine and Covenants. So this got expounded upon because it became a source of contention in the church when the temple came. They did not have the temple till they got to Kirkland, guys. The Kirkland temple, when they got to Kirkland, the temple was a storehouse and meeting house. It wasn't until later, so when Joseph Smith became a Mason, that the temple became what you guys know it today, and eternal marriage and salvation became part of the temple covenants. So this was a later teaching and had to be explained by the earliest church leaders and apologists. Because even Joseph Smith gives the Protestant view. So and Protestants are mainstream Christianity, and this is the same thing that they say. This is coming out. They say the same thing. All ties cut, severed in heaven when you go back to God.
So my first point is that when Christ says they neither marry nor are given in marriage, it makes sense that he's talking about the specific people the Sadducees mentioned, who did not have access to eternal marriage. Christ isn't saying eternal marriage doesn't exist. He's just saying in this context, this ain't it. But there's more than one way to look at this. Even if Christ was...
Well, no. They want to know, after the resurrection, they don't believe in the Christian resurrection where you die, there's going to be 1,000 years, God's going to, Jesus is going to rule over this earth and then condemn people to heaven or hell. Like I said, they don't believe in hell. So the resurrection is a refiner's fire, then into heaven. They resurrect from the refiner's fire into heaven. Let's learn the history of Judaism and the terminology. So the Sadducees were asking Jesus, what about those who are in heaven, who've already risen in heaven? They're already there. They don't believe there's a second coming and there's going to, everyone's in a purgatory waiting like the Catholics and some other faiths believe. So they don't believe there's going to be a great judgment. They believe these people are already in heaven that he's talking about. These people are in heaven. They. And Jesus is talking about they too. When they get to heaven, there will be no more marriages. They won't be able to be married if they were never married, because those who are here on earth's marriages are going to be dissolved as well, and everyone will be angels, and Smith said the same. They had to change this later and homogenize it together to make it harmonious.
is talking about marriage in general. The Greek word used here for they marry is hamusin. This word used in this tense does not indicate that no one will be in a state of marriage after the resurrection, but rather that resurrected people will not enter into any new marriage.
And no, it doesn't. It just means that it will be dissolved. Dissolved. Let's understand the terminology here. Come on, Saints Unscripted, stop lying. Go talk to a Greek historian. This guy is studying ancient religion in ancient Middle East. He should know Greek. He should know Coptic. He should know ancient Aramaic. So come on, buddy. You know this. You know this. Don't be deceitful. Are you paid by the church? Are you just a common guy like me? Or are you paid by the church? I'm starting to really wonder. Because this deceitfulness for a knowledgeable guy is deceitfulness. So I've been researching and studying this for many a year since this guy was in diapers. I'm twice his age. I've been researching this before when he was still playing with breaking G.I. Joes and little Lego blocks, trying to figure out how to put them together. And that's not to demean him. It's just the years of experience of research between the two of us. So he is not letting you guys know the terminology. He's not letting you guys know the historical aspect and setup of what's going on here. He's not letting you know the Jewish belief and what their belief is. While he's explaining this, he's using Christian terms and Christian terminology. Or terms and Christian terminology. He's not explaining the terminology that the Jews would be using and the context the Jews would be using this in. So he's using Christian terminology that you understand that is not the same to Judaism. And this is one of the reasons Jews don't want to talk to you guys, because you don't want to accept that resurrection isn't a 1,000-year period, that they don't have a hell. You need to believe they have a hell to believe your religion is right. They don't have a hell. So Judaism 101, even Hitler goes back to heaven because there is no hell.
Contracts. Essentially, it's the difference between being married, the condition, versus getting married, the action. Christ here says nothing about those already married by the time the resurrection arrives. If he wanted to, he could have. There's another standard Greek way to say that. This is consistent with Latter-day Saint doctrine because
no, this isn't consistent with Latter-day doctrine because it's inconsistent even by Joseph Smith's own words starting out with the church, because as they started and were very Protestant, they moved away from their Protestant belief. They moved away from the Protestant belief to evolve to what you guys have now, and it's continued to evolve. It's never stopped evolving.
Rites and ordinances we have access to, like baptism and eternal marriage, have to be performed by mortals in this life or the millennium.
Yes. We're getting into proxy, and I brought proxy up a different video on, I forget which video I did it for, on these guys, because they kind of skirted around it with their converted member there, helping host. They're talking about proxy. They believe, Mormons believe, if they do this ceremony for the dead here on earth, they have the choice in heaven to accept it. They can reject it or accept it, but they are given the opportunity by members doing this in proxy for them, whether it's baptism or temple sealings. So this isn't a Christian teaching. This is a Mormon Christian teaching. This goes against mainstream Christianity and why mainstream Christians do not consider Mormons Christian. So this is one of the reasons people do not consider you Christian. This is a source of contention in the church.
If someone dies before having the opportunity to be married, their spirit resides in the spirit world, and we mortals can perform those ordinances vicariously in our temples. At that point, they can't do it for themselves. If they choose not to ever accept that ordinance, then, as Christ mentions, they become ministering angels in heaven.
Yes. Yes. And there is no such thing as ministering angels and married angels in heaven. Jesus and the Bible, if you believe in Jesus and the Bible, and when I say if you believe in Jesus, if you believe in Christianity, Jesus, not historically, or if you're not a mythicist, I'm not going to counter that one, but if you believe, Bible believers, that Jesus was a Messiah, a Christ, so he says you're all going to be angels. If you're an investigator or a mainstreamer watching this, Sean S., you can comment in on here. Are you all not going to be angels when you return to heaven? Are you not going to once again be angels back in heaven again? Yes, it's only in Mormonism that they teach differently, and it is only after the church evolved. So when they first started out, they taught the same. So yeah, this is a Mormon teaching that you're hearing, backed by Mormon theology, backed by Mormon scripture, to make a point. They are not looking at the other side and telling you what the other side says and why the other side says it. Do you notice they never give you the rebuttal side? This channel does not give you the rebuttal side. They mention the rebuttals, but they do not present it. When I come on here, I present the rebuttal side as well as my side. So you have to. If you don't, then it's only one-sided and you can't verify the words that this guy here says. You can't. So you need to know the other side, and he doesn't tell you the other side. He doesn't want you to know the other side. He only wants to present his side and testify about it and give his testimony about it because he has no other defense. Because if he gives you the other side, you guys stand alone. Only you guys.
James E. Talmage emphasized, in the resurrection there will be no marrying nor giving in marriage. For all
Whoa, in the resurrection there will be no marrying nor giving in marriage. For all questions of marital status must be settled before that time. I will read it out quick. James E. Talmage, for you members of the church who are unaware, his Mormon doctrine is no longer, you're probably aware, it's no longer for sale in church bookstores. It's been taken out of any library in the church that did have copies of it. The church is phasing it out because a lot of the doctrinal teaching that Talmage says in there and teaches is distasteful to the church now, and they're trying to move away from it. Just so you guys know, that is why it has been taken out of the church bookstore, because a lot of the teachings in there are no longer tasteful to the church, and they're trying to move away from it. They're trying to, and if they can get rid of this book that was once promoted as the be-all answer book, then they can get you to fare with the new answers. They can get you to fare with the new answers. Talmage is outdated. In another video, they bring up Talmage and they bring up Nibley. Nibley is an embarrassment on the church. Nibley is being faded out. So Nibley is another one they are fading out of the church because his teachings are no longer in harmony with the church's teachings today.
questions of marital status must be settled before that time, under the authority of the holy priesthood, which holds the power to seal in marriage for both time and eternity.
And he's not talking about other faiths, he's talking about the LDS faith. So no other faith has this belief in there. No other faith has a Aaronic Melchizedek priesthood. Most faiths don't even have a priesthood in their church. They believe the priesthood had died with Jesus. They believe it has been done. So there's only a few churches out there that believe in priesthood structures like that, including the Catholic Church, but their structure is different. Only the Pope has the ultimate authority like that. So guys, do you understand this stuff? This is Mormon propaganda being pushed right here, not Mormon information, not Mormon transparency. This is Mormon propaganda.
So there's another Latter-day Saint interpretation for you to consider. There are even more in the links in the description below. Check them out. If you've got questions on this topic, let me know in the comments, and have a great day.
Yeah. Obviously, he only wants to answer you guys because I've commented on his videos a few times now, and they don't respond to me whatsoever. They're ignoring me. All my comments are linked with my issues, and they have not addressed my issues on their videos yet. Why? Because there's no defense. Just like this, there's no defense. They're only presenting one side, their side, and very, very pro. Not even critically. Not even critically. This is not their mission. My mission is to be critical on both sides and to get you guys to check out both sides. This guy has no desire to do such a thing. He has no desire whatsoever to let you guys know the information. And that to me is absolutely disgusting. To me, that's not right. That's wrong. You guys should be allowed to make up your own mind off of the right information. I hope this was informational to you guys. You guys have a great day. Keep it real. Peace out. The AA.